This is my 2014 Pagani Huayra. Now, I was not a big Pagani fan at all in the beginning. What, you say? Well, that is the truth, folks. Now, I remember Tommy showing me some videos, and I think he was pushing me to get one early on, just like everything else, where Tommy comes up with the idea first. He says, you should get one of these, and I'm like, no, 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 and then I pretend like it was my own idea a year later when I decided to get one.
For those of you who don't know, I manage Steve's car collection. If you're a first-time viewer, the collection is, I'm responsible for caring for them. I help find cars, sell cars, get allocations, all that fun stuff. So a while back—
Natalia just delivers packages. All right, a while ago.
A while back, there was a white Huayra Roadster that came to Chicago Motor Cars at Iron Gate, and I remember showing Steve. He was actually invited to a dinner to view the car, and he had zero interest in Paganis whatsoever.
Yes.
Why?
Well, I remember just hearing a video or hearing something that had the sound of them, and they sounded like motorcycles. Now, that was wrong. I must have heard something else. I just remember someone showing me a video, didn't like the way that it looked, didn't like the way that it sounded mostly. It sounded like a high RPM, weird motorcycle machine. I must have heard something different because that's not what this sounds like.
I feel like the Pagani was too small, and they still are a very boutique, small brand. Where like, if you're driving this, people don't know what it is.
Yeah,
so I think you wanted bigger names early on in your collecting. You wanted bigger names, flashy, like everyone knows you're in a Lambo or Bugatti or whatever, and you've come.
We've refined a little bit as the collection has grown. I've refined and looked for more drivers and more fun cars that I will just thoroughly enjoy. Now, on that note, what ultimately turned me over to getting into Pagani was the Pagani people happened to be in town. So they were actually specking out the new Pagani Utopia with Jimmy John in central Illinois. And they were coming up to the Chicago area, and they had nothing to do. And through a mutual friend, he said, well, they're going to be in the area. You guys want to go grab dinner? I said, heck freaking yeah, we do.
If you guys want to know why we got invited to dinner, Steve and I got in a fight over the pronunciation.
Oh, that's right.
This is why he bought a Huayra.
Forgot
and
about
a
that.
C10,
Yes.
now known as the Utopia. So we called Evan at Miller Motor Cars and asked for the correct pronunciation of Chiron. I called it a Chiron. Steve called it a Chiron.
Yep.
And Steve put one of his buddies up to calling all the dealers in the U.S., the Bugatti dealers, and asking for the correct pronunciation.
Yes.
That spiraled out of control and turned into him getting in contact with us, Evan at Miller Motor Cars, and eventually we got dinner with them.
That's basically how we got in contact with Evan.
Yeah.
So Mike, a friend of mine, ended up calling a bunch of dealers. Evan was one of the guys that he ended up speaking to. Yeah. And Evan was the one that ultimately made this happen. The correct pronunciation, by the way, it was like split. It was like Chiron. It didn't help at all. However, the correct French pronunciation is like Chiron. Chiron. Yeah. I was closer.
Well, we're in America, and people in America call it a Chiron.
So we sat down to dinner with Chris Pagani, the son of Horacio Pagani. We sat down with Michael Staskin, who is the CEO of Pagani America, one of their marketing guys, and then, of course, Evan. And in that meeting, they were so kind enough to show me the new Pagani Utopia. And this was like a year and a half ago. This was before really anybody had seen it, just Jimmy John.
Before he owned a Huayra, before.
Yes.
Really, you just had to send on a Chiron back then, I think.
Yep. And just that meeting alone, and we'll get into later how that meeting is kind of indicative of how Pagani is. And I mean that in a really good way. But just through that meeting and being able to see that car, I fell in love with the way that the Utopia looked. And it didn't change a whole lot from there. And ultimately it made me really want to get a Huayra and just be part of that community.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what Pagani is all about. So at some point I decided to get myself a Pagani Huayra. And as usual, I was on vacation. I was actually in France with my son, doing a little birthday trip for him and my wife.
All the cars he buys when he's out of Illinois.
I just must get bored.
I've started to plan trips for him so we can get new stuff in the collection.
And you just traveled to get one. New car coming soon.
I do. Yes, I was on yesterday.
So it arrived a few weeks later. I think it's been it's just shy of a year that I've had this vehicle. Yeah. And it was delivered in the winter, so didn't get to get the full experience. But the first thing that you notice with this car is, look at how this thing explodes like this. There are a few cars, the Ford GT, what else pops open like this? Is that it?
Koenigseggs are pretty amazing how they open.
Sure, two of them coming soon, but explodes open, really cool. Now this is not the most powerful car. I want to be very clear. Of all my hypercars, this is actually the least powerful one at mid 700 horsepower. And we did dyno it in another video if you want to check that out. It ended up overperforming what Pagani said their numbers were. Still a very powerful car, just not as powerful as the other Hypers. Relatively quiet, but has second loudest blow-off valves of all the cars next to the Bugatti Chiron, which will blast your ears out. At the end of the day, this car is a beautiful car, and you can see that they take so much time and care in just designing the exterior, the way that it opens up, luggage compartments. and really the interior is where they hit home. I think that is probably where they spend most of their time.
Saying that the car is the least powerful of the Hypers sounds bad because that's not what they're trying to go for. This car is a piece of art. Horatio has said in the past that he literally designs each aspect of the car to be able to be taken off of the car and displayed in a museum. Individually, the pieces and put together, as you can tell. The design, I think, is pretty timeless, actually. They did a phenomenal job. The Zonda, I feel the same way about the Utopia, is going to age amazingly as well.
Yep.
But this car was named after an Argentinian god of wind, Huayra, and you can tell that they spent no lack of time designing the aerodynamics for the car because it's beautiful and crazy, and it has these crazy ducts in here.
And their factory is like a museum. It's like you walk in there and everything, even the assembly floor where they're putting these cars together, every stage of that place is like a museum, and you can see that that's just the way that they want to present the brand.
Yeah, they're artists. If you guys look at the attention to detail, even in the engine bay, most cars don't, like you can't even get into the engine bay on a Chiron or the Senna or the P1.
No chance.
This, they show every aspect. You can see straight through the engine to the ground. Every aspect of the car has so much attention to detail. For those of you who don't know, every bolt on the car has Pagani's logo. They are very proud of what they do and what they manufacture, and it shows through looking at the car visually and driving it. The experiences, it really isn't like any other car I've ever driven. This car,
I agree.
It's so unique.
Very different feel, very different performance on the road. As we sit here and talk about the exploded view, the interior, the exterior, we're going to get why they're the best hypercar manufacturer, and all of this plays into it, but it is not actually the number one reason. We'll get to that in a little bit. We did discuss on how this thing sounds really nice. It has pretty incredible blow-off valve sound as you drive. We'll get to some of that a little bit later as we drive it. But we're thinking about doing an exhaust system and maybe a tune. Mr. Houston Cross did that out in Las Vegas, and he said that it changed his life. It changed the Pagani. It's his favorite car, I think he said, to drive. Let us know, comment below, should we go and do that modification? The P1 exhaust is getting modified soon. If we did modify the LaFerrari, we wouldn't tell you. What else?
And Chiron's currently with you. So
Chiron is currently there getting the exhaust scanned. The Chiron is going to be the first Bugatti Chiron in the entire United States of America, probably the world, with a custom aftermarket exhaust coming soon on that, y'all. I told him it has to be loud. That is my one stipulation. And maybe breathe fire.
Yeah, flames might be a bonus.
Flames are always a bonus.
Nuts.
You can see there are a couple pieces of literature there placed gently on the floor, and that is going to get me into what really hits home with Pagani and why they are the best hypercar manufacturer in the world. Pagani is all about the personal touch and the personal service that they provide to their customers. There is nobody, now there are a lot of good manufacturers out there, right? We went and visited Rimac, we got to hang out with Mate, we've had some time with Christian von Koenigsegg, and we've had some good time with a lot of leadership in those car companies, and they certainly do a great job taking care of their customers, but Pagani just really, really goes the extra mile and takes an extra effort, and it is shown through everything that they do. I brought these from home. They seem to ship me something pretty much every month, and let's walk over and I'll show them to you. This alone is an example of something that I've never gotten from another manufacturer. Now, I get a Ferrari magazine, I get a Lamborghini magazine. Nothing is hardbound. Everything, and I'm appreciative of everything that they send me. You can just see the difference that I got this hardbound book from Pagani. At the Utopia spec session, they gave us this, all three of us, right? Yeah. Everybody that was there, they gave us this beautiful, beautiful kind of copies of the original sketch of the Utopia. Boy, that looks like a real pencil went to that, but beautiful, beautiful artwork that we get to keep. Another hardbound book, personalized letters to my wife and I, and they usually come in these, they send their letters in these leather bound, like literally just for a letter.
Rewinding back to the dinner we had with Chris Pagani, literally his son, the founder of the company's son. I spent the whole night calling the car Pagani.
Pagani.
I don't know why. I think it's just.
It was a boutique manufacturer, and you just weren't as familiar with the brand.
Everyone just says Pagani. Like if you watch reviews, people say like Pagani, like it's just a thing.
Yes.
It's pronounced Pagani, but I ended up calling it Pagani the whole night we were at dinner with them in front of. It's literally his last name.
With Christopher Pagani.
Yes. And the plate stuck because.
Yes, we decided it has nothing to do with it poo or anything. It just has to do with Tommy's mispronunciation in front of the Pagani family.
That's rough.
Back to the letters. What's this letter? I've forgotten what these are for. That other one was about, congratulating on your purchase. So they sent me this leather-bound case congratulating on my purchase, which is also signed by Mr. Horacio with VIN number 77. That's a lucky car, right, Thomas? And then, of course, the 2022 Calendario Pagani. I think that's how they pronounce it over there. Voila. I don't even, these are like legit thick cardstock. Beautiful, beautiful.
Crazy.
Great group of people. Most recently, if you haven't seen Strad's video of him receiving this Pagani, because we shipped it out to him to go test it out and have some fun with it. He ended up loving it, called it Pagani constantly. It was actually hilarious just hearing him call it Pagani. And so it had been serviced at Dallas of Pagani for a couple months. Keep in mind, these parts are a little bit hard to get, and they did their best to get it done. But it arrived to him dead, so there had seemed to had a battery problem along the way. So I had the America-based CEO texting me trying to get this remedied. And he'll shoot me a text every other week or now and then just to check on things, make sure everything's going good. Like, I don't have that kind of relationship with any other factory or person. And they still have quite a bit of customers. I mean, they're a small boutique manufacturer, but a lot of customers to keep track of and do this. So I genuinely appreciate that. And he was able to work with Dallas Pagani to get a tech to fly out to Stradman's house and fix this battery and place it free of charge for us. So just another testimony to how great their dealership network is, and Michael and the whole entire team at Pagani.
So like I said, I manage these car collection. I'm not a part of his family. I don't own these cars. Michael literally messaged me on my personal Instagram to congratulate me after I got married. Like,
oh, nice.
And I don't even own one of their cars. It goes that deep where like I went to dinner with him a couple times. We've met at events, but other manufacturers don't do that. And I think that's probably the main reason, besides the car being amazing in of itself, that the company is so special, because they make it like, people always ask why these cars are worth so much. It's so much more than just them being faster, sounding cool, or looking cool. Like it's all of that comes in, ties in together at the end of the day.
Yeah. We should take this for fast. I haven't driven this since we shipped it out 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah, it's been a minute for you.
Yes. And I think there was something that really irks you about the Smart Gas upgrade. I'm going to see if I experience it.
Yes.
It's the way it's supposed to work, but it was something the Aventador did that drove all of us crazy, and I want to see it in the flesh. I love the belt buckle.
I know, the belt buckle. Like, this is the only modern car in the world that uses leather on the exterior. It's so cool.
Let us do this.
I just want to show you the crazy attention to detail. Definitely the nicest key that I have. The CNC milled, amazing looking key. Granted, it does have like a Mercedes base in it, but it is still freaking sexy. Look at this thing. All right, let's start it up. You should go get it from the back, Avon. That's what she said. I just called him Avon.
Yeah, sounds like a little cheetah.
Check out the handbrake. Very few cars have the handbrake in the middle for this. This one does. I don't want to touch too much onto the interior of this, but it has a beautiful interior, by far the nicest interior of all of the vehicles. Absolute artwork with all of the gauges and switches, and we did a whole video on the Pagani specifically with the interior. You guys can go check that out in this link. While I drive this and take it out, a couple awesome things that Pagani does that few or nobody else does is some of the driving experiences. They have something called the Pagani Raduno. That is an event where you can go drive with a bunch of other Pagani owners, and I am told is one of the most intimate, awesome experiences that you can do. At some point I'm going to do it. The one this year conflicted with some travel plans that I had, but I'm told that it's just an amazing time, and you get to meet some amazing Pagani owners while you're out doing that. It's been so long since I've driven this. I'm excited to drive it again. Running low on gas, Steve accelerates extremely hard. First time driving with the Smart Fuel upgrade. Couple other points. Factory tour. Their factory tour was fantastic. We couldn't really take any video or pictures inside the factory, but again, one of the 2 factories that we walked through, and we loved it. We had a great time there. We were treated exceptional. They have a gentleman named Stefan that did the specking session on the Pagani Utopia, another video that we did. He is probably the most knowledgeable guy that I've ever seen do these. Now, we've had a lot of great... Oh, got it. Did it shut off?
No. It's your shifter thing.
Oh.
Right here. That's the part.
I hate that.
Yeah.
Oh no, Pagani, fix that, fix that. Okay, so that was what I was talking about. It did it so fast. That's what she said. Okay, so this does what the Aventador does, and that's it decides to just kick itself into neutral after you wait for like 10 or 20 seconds without really giving me notice. So you sit at a stoplight and you just rev it and don't go. Although this one doesn't rev like the Aventador does, it just does nothing. So I had to reshift it into drive after getting beeped at. I don't know if you caught that beep.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh man, I'm gonna text them right now. This is another great thing. I can just text their service advisor on how much I dislike this, and maybe they'll do something about it. We'll see. We made it to the gas station, folks. That's a plus. She's gonna need some 93 octane fuel. Let's text them about that shut-off feature. It did say that it was done to save clutch.
Yeah.
When we asked about it, I just hadn't driven it since then. Still fueling. All right, it's a pretty small gas tank. 14 gallons. Dude, that's fun. Oh my gosh. Woo, that shift. It's so hard. Watch out, guy. How dare you not know I'm speeding? Here we go. Oh, that's so hard.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Sounds badass. This is a thrill. Just a really fun car to drive. Well, folks, if I could sum up in one sentence why Pagani is the best hypercar manufacturer in the world, it would be it's an amazing car, and they just have the absolute best level of service and personal touch among any hypercar manufacturer. That's all for today, folks. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks, folks, for watching, and you have a great day.